Thank you so much. Good morning, everybody. It's a real privilege for me to be sitting along such legendaries of the media entertainment sector, and they're all household names. So it's really a privilege and an honor for me to be sharing the dais with them. And at times you feel that government is sort of out of place in this bunch of very creative people. But thank you, FICCI, for having organized this, given this platform where we can share a few thoughts from us. Yesterday, some of you were there. You heard the Secretary talk about the growth of the sector and how the Ministry of INB is trying to be an enabler in trying to promote films and entertainment, and that's already happening. So, well, online curated content, I think 5 years back when we talked about OTT, we said it was the next big thing. But today we can say it is the present biggest thing in terms of the reach, in terms of the popularity across languages, not only in India, internationally. OTT is here for everybody to stay, it stays here. And because of the low cost, internet costs, you can see people across the country. I mean, India has the lowest internet charges. The people across the country, they are taking advantage of this, the fact. And you can see everybody watching some type of content, some curated content on their mobiles in the free time or whenever they are. So that has been a real big thing for the country. And I think the most important part is that we have been producing some very good original content and value-based content. And it has also given a huge opportunity. A lot of young stars, talents, who otherwise could not find the space in the film industry, in a typical film which is being produced in Bombay and other parts of the country. They got that space, they got that opportunity. Yesterday we had a session of Jantara, and there were young boys and girls who are there, now they become household names of Jamtara. And that is the real power of OTT, where young people, they could be a music director, it could be an actor, it could be a script writer, they're all getting the chances, their opportunities to showcase their talent. And that has come very hugely. And we in the ministry, well, the best thing which a ministry can do in such matters is to keep itself away and let the sector grow. So we talked about self-regulation, and that is what we did, trying to have a sort of self-regulatory environment, enabling the sector to grow on its own and let it self-discipline and grow. That is the best way it can grow. And that is what we try to do. And a lot of collaborative exercises have taken place between the government and the media entertainment sector, also in OTT. So talking about collaboration, I'll just take a few minutes. About less than a year, about 6 months back, on the occasion of Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav, an idea struck that let us develop a mobile game. A mobile game which can talk about the content of India's freedom struggle. So we developed that game collaborating with Zynga. Zynga is an Indian company and it's also a multinational. So we developed that game, and the entire content was prepared by the ministry, within the ministry, with the vetting of the Indian Council of Historical Research. And in a record time of 45 days, this game was developed. And today is just about a month since we launched that game. So I thought this is a good platform, just try to tell you about what this game is all about. So it's a small video. You will just see and try to appreciate what it is, and especially for the youngsters, boys, girls, teachers, students, and even for parents. This is something which is now becoming quite popular. So can we just have a video? This game is both in English and Hindi, and we kept a few prizes just to incentivize, just let children enjoy it. So we are having some small mugs, some keychains, and also we'll call these young boys and girls, wherever they are, to our Doordarshan studios or all the radio. They can speak about themselves, speak about their experience, what they think, what is their vision. That's what we're trying to do. And we have shared it with schools also, but then what we did was, that was 5 days back, we thought we must promote in a different way, in the language which boys and girls understand. So we prepared a small song, about 30-second song. And then we were thinking, how should this song be playing? We thought it should be a rap song. So we prepared a small rap, and that is now being aired on All India Radio. So can we just listen to that 30-seconder?
It to context and also telling us all about the Azadi Quest app in a nutshell. I will now invite Mr. Gaurav Banerjee, Head Content, Disney Plus Hotstar.
Thank you to FICCI Frames. This is indeed quite an honor to be back here in person and to talk to all of you. I was just telling Lena off stage that I have been here at FICCI Frames since 2012. So personally for me, 10 years of coming to this conference. And by God, is this good to be here back in person with all of you. So thank you so much. We have a license to operate from society. When we violate its terms, this can be revoked. These words are from George Weinhauser, a lumber baron who stated this in 1977 when asked how he viewed his firm's position. And this holds true for every business and most definitely for media and entertainment, for all of us here today. We do operate from a license from society. We are accountable to society, and we must never forget this. I believe all that creativity works, it does so in the service of society. As storytellers, as content companies, all of us have this contract. At Disney Star, we have huge belief in this contract and in fact treat this as our North Star. When we have paid attention to this, focused on this contract, we have been rewarded with success. When we have lost sight of this, the punishment has also been there. So curated content in India, if I think about when did it really explode, become massive, I have to go back to early 2000s. And a big component of this were, of course, the K serials from Star. Kyunki Saas Bhi Kabhi Bahu Thi, Kahani, Kasauti. Siddharth is on stage here today with me. He made one of those shows, Sanjeevani. What did all of these shows have in common, other than the fact that they were on Star Plus and that they are back on Star Plus in afternoons these days? Well, all of this content was not just entertaining India, but was for the first time putting women at the center of storytelling. That was the big, massive change happening at scale for the first time in our country, right? We have 100-year-old film industry, but it was only 20 years ago with the start of television, which put corporates, right? People who were earning their salaries by serving fans well, that this decision got taken and done at scale of putting women at the center of storylines. The impact was massive and significant. The best chronicle of it was done by two American scholars working for the University of Chicago. This entire study is available online. You can go to Google and look it up. They went to households in 2000, 2001 before they got satellite television, and then went back to the same households 3 years later after they had been exposed to all of these shows that my company and other companies like mine were making in this time. The results were this. Women's preference for male children fell by 20%. Tolerance for domestic abuse decreased by 10%. And an additional 8% of girls between the ages of 6 and 10 were now going to school. And if girls were going to school, then in those households, at least 10% of them were now being thought ready to go to college. So the impact that just this one decision that storytellers were taking on society has been this massive. Just tells us. So there is a lot of power in this room. Sometimes we lose sight of it. Now, when I think of this, right, there are three different phases of this that I see happening over the last 20 years. Phase one, which started in the year 2000, is what the Chicago study was able to deeply examine. That was, when I look back today, really quite simple. It was saying that, you know what, all our posters and our lead protagonists would be women, right? So if you think about a poster of Kyunki Saas Bhi Kabhi Bahu Thi, even today, you think of Smriti Irani. It's very hard to figure out who the male hero with her was. The same thing is true for all the other really, really big shows that were made at that time. So women were put at the center, they were given voice. And that was phase one. The year it starts is 2000. Now 10, 11 years later, I had an opportunity to play a little bit of a bit role, is when the next phase started, which is where it wasn't really enough for a woman to be at the center. It wasn't enough for the woman to have a say in important family decisions. The woman did more and got support from her husband, from her in-laws, to actually go out and work and become a successful professional. To my mind, the start of this phase is a show that I did with the great Shashi Mittal. And the show is Diya Aur Baati Hum, where the husband tells the wife, saying, you have great talent, incredible ambition. And the husband is a sweet shop seller. And he tells the wife, saying, you are so good, so talented, so you can be an IPS officer. So that was the storyline of a show that was watched by millions of people in our country, right? And this is phase two, where television was telling people that, you know what, there is no ambition, there is no job that a woman can't do. And actually it's perfectly fine in a relationship for the woman to have the more powerful position. The husband will support this, right? So now this was incredible, and this was phase two. But even in phase two, something was sacred. The institution of marriage, right? It wasn't yet time to question it. That started in phase three, and that started in 2020. We are in the start of phase three. And that started with a show that I'm incredibly proud of. It's a show called Anupama. I hope. Thank you. So Anupama is a show that is watched by 250 million people in our country over a couple of months, right? Now, the storyline of Anupama is what is incredibly powerful. Why is that so? Because Anupama comes to the conclusion that if you have no respect in your marriage, if you are truly taken for granted, bullied, misguided, cheated upon, then this marriage is no marriage for you to stay in. This marriage, it is actually a dharma to walk out of, right? And secondly, that even if you are 45, you can start a new life. You can find love again. You can find marriage again. And these are all things that Anupama has done and has been cheered upon by all of India. So I believe this is today, we are all in phase three. And these kind of storylines are possible and probable on entertainment across linear TV and online entertainment. And this is something that doesn't get understood and acknowledged well enough. There is another point that I wish to make. Often, people like me are given a bit of a choice to say, you know what, you can either do things for profit or you can do so for the larger social good. I believe that often this is a false choice. We can and we must do both. And to explain this, I want to tell you a story about what happened to me and what my team did to me about 7 years ago. You know what, you're not marketing my show. So I was like, okay, she's going to say that, but it's okay. I'm going to take that from her. But she didn't say that. So I was a bit surprised. And I said, okay, I thought, let me only come clean now and say, hey, listen, I don't know whether you've noticed or not, but we are not promoting Diya Aur Baati Hum, okay? So sorry about that. So she said, oh, come on, what's wrong with you? Don't say that. And, Diya Aur Baati Hum ratings are just going to be fine without any support. You don't worry about that. Let us worry about that and let's ensure that, right? Don't worry. And she walked away. And, nobody on my team actually came and protested. They all felt so proud of the fact that us as a group were telling this incredible, powerful story. They did that bit more to actually make their shows work even better. So my channel's ratings actually went up. All of those shows without marketing support did better because everybody on the team was deeply motivated to be part of a larger cause. And if companies and leaders and individuals do that, greater success tends to follow. So I think we sort of compartmentalize things too simply in our minds. Some things are for social good, most things are for commercial interests. I think there are two really, really important components to any business. Our teams, people who work with us to make that business come alive. And doing the right thing has massive business benefits as well. And you know what? Even if it doesn't, sometimes we should still do it because it's always much, much better to keep doing. Finally, I want to make one point. We are a 100-year-old industry. We have been here and we have been doing this at scale for several years. We are on track to become one of the largest economies in the world, right? I heard on track to be a $100 billion industry. And that's something that I totally believe in. But we need to do better when it comes to incredible creative endeavors. And it is today a Korean film that has won is now. And it's on to all of us, each one of us, to do better, to equip ourselves better, and to know that this is what our potential is.
Sitting here in this room, I think they deserve a much huger applause. And because we are talking about what is a very nascent industry compared to, say, movies that have been around for 110 years, everyone here on this platform, on this stage, is actually a migrant to the medium. Literally everyone was working somewhere else and then came on to OTT as an industry that exists. I'm going to start with you, Gaurav. Seniors in my college used to call you G-Ban. I think you still call that. The screen that you handled when it comes to OTT was called Hotstar. It's now Disney plus Hotstar. You moved from television. According to you, how different is OTT as we know it now from what television was or has been? And you took us through a wonderful cultural history of satellite television. How different is satellite television from OTTs as we know it now?
So thanks, Mayan. Yes, I think it is different. We started on this journey about 7 years ago. But we have always thought of the creativity part to be really similar. So one of the very different business decisions that we took is that every piece of content that we were making for our TV network, we decided to put it first on our OTT. So I don't know if you know this, but Anupama, which you could see I'm a bit proud of, comes every morning at 6 a.m. on Disney plus Hotstar. And that's how it has always been since 2015. So, there is a little bit of a sometimes I feel a caste system that gets, casually thrown around saying, okay, this is TV and that's not really great, but OTT is a lot better, and of course cinema is a hell of a lot better. So since I am, I still am in the service of TV, and TV serves 700 million Indians every day. That's something that I think all of us should be incredibly proud of. And therefore, I think when it comes to the creative answers, right, I feel a lot of them are the same, So I think a good show is a good show is a good show. And there is so much data that I have that essentially proves this. And that's equally true for films, right? So we put out at least 30 films on our OTT service every year. And then all of them we put out on our TV network as well. The results are startlingly similar, right? So I think people keep sort of believing that it's sort of radically different. It isn't. But I think in one way, the distribution channel does make a difference, which is that our TV screens, people watch together very often, right? So it's for family viewing as a default setting. Whereas OTT in India, and that's also something very different for our market versus, let's say, the United States, people watch it on their mobile phones, right? So that allows for a lot of the content to be watched solo. And that allows also perhaps for edgier themes as one distinction, and second for content duration to be different, right? So shorter stories, shorter episodes are certainly a little bit more convenient.
Right. Let me also introduce Shreyans Pandey, who's just joined us. I guess you got stuck in traffic. You were the traffic. So, Shreyans, you started out, Shreyans, of course, is the creator of amazing shows like Good Luck, Aspirants, which is actually a show on YouTube. Good Luck is a show on Sony Live. Now, when you have a show on YouTube, you guys actually started out as a YouTube collective. And then you get onto an OTT platform. Obviously, how different is it to be on YouTube as against on an OTT platform? Of course, there's the one bit about instant gratification where everyone's pressing likes and giving you comments on YouTube that doesn't happen on OTTs, right? How different is it when you put out a Good Luck on Sony Live as against an Aspirants on YouTube?
So I think, mine, for us, the journey has been entirely different. I just heard when Gaurav sir said that we are completing 100 years in this industry, and we are just 10 years old. This year we completed the 10th anniversary of TVF. And, we are, as creators, as a collective, as a brand, as a company, we are the ones who have been born in this generation.
Right.
So, while, yes, there is a lot of audience, we came into existence because of this very unique set of audience who were not getting entertained from the television or let's say the shows which were being run at that time, and they wanted something fresh, they wanted something new. I feel it's a cycle. It's not something that happens in once in a century. I think that is something which happens every maybe 5 years, maybe 10 years, maybe 15 years. People get bored of what they are watching, and that is the very time which calls for innovation, which calls for some new thing that we can do with the content. The idea for us, or maybe you can call it the motive, was very simple. While YouTube was a very good distribution medium for us, we always wanted to make platform agnostic content. When Gaurav sir said that the stories are pretty much the same, the fundamentals of storytelling is not going to change. It is same for The Godfather, it is same for Succession. So I think there are fundamentals which will not change, but yes, if you just have to put a term to it, I'll say maybe the early adopters of a medium, or you can say the ones who take a decision, or let's say the core viewership. I think that changes. That changes whenever some disruption happens with the technology, or let's say essentially in the distribution mechanism. I think those are the people, those are the early propagators who actually take your content somewhere. Something like a Gullak or for that matter Panchayat works very well for a family audience. People, just like how people have been watching a lot of linear programming shows collectively in the room. These are the shows which are enjoyed by families sitting together in their living room and binging on it. But at the same time, if you don't have that, those maybe one or two people in that family who actually become the advocate for your content, who actually take it to their family WhatsApp groups, take it to their families and say कि यार ये हमें साथ में बैठ के देखना चाहिए, पापा आप क्यों नहीं देख रहे हो? I think if you don't do that, then it's sort of, at times it might become difficult to translate to that group. So, if I have to answer your question in one line, we still aim to make platform agnostic content. So whether there is a Gullak releasing on Sony Live, or there is an Aspirants releasing on YouTube, or there is a Panchayat releasing on Amazon Prime Video, I think fundamentals remain the same for us. The fundamentals of storytelling are same.
Right. Of course, I'm going to take it to three people in the middle right now at the center. Divya, Siddharth, Nikhil. You guys are what, of course, Siddharth, you've done a lot of television as well, but typically I would describe you as Bollywood, right? You guys are Bollywood guys. How different is Bollywood from OTT? I'll start with you, Divya. You have a theatrical release coming up. How different does it feel to when you have something coming up on an OTT platform for you as an actor personally?
Very good morning, everyone. See, as actors, I mean, I'll talk as an actor. When a role comes to you, sometimes it's difficult to just say, I mean, if somebody's coming to you, I'll just say, ये web series है, कि ये film है. कई बार आप differentiate ही नहीं कर पाते, when आपको एक छोटा सा short synopsis सुनाया जाता है. लेकिन when you hear it in such length, वो जो इतना detailing करके they tell you, okay, this is going to be a web show comprising of 9 episodes or 11 episodes or whatever that is. This is detailed. So what happens is your roles automatically become very layered. There is time for the director, for the producer to just give you that time as a graph. Vis-a-vis when you do a short film probably, where it's quicker, and then a film. But the audience, I must say, is changing a lot. And I think especially after the pandemic, there's been a huge difference and a huge shift. Because it has been in many ways a lifesaver, I must say. Because सब घर पे बैठे थे, आप झाड़ू भी कर रहे हैं, टटका भी कर रहे हैं, खाना भी बना रहे हैं. But you need some entertainment. We live on media and entertainment. We are social beings. We need to connect. We need to get entertained. And there was just one thing we counted on, was the OTTs and the good shows that were coming in that time. And I do remember half of the shows were already done. We shot for a few shows and few were left because it was already a lockdown. And then how in between that period when everyone was masked up and everything, you were finishing that content to bring it on, and you're just getting those immediate responses. Like you were just asking Shreyans how the responses are. They've been so amazing. Instantly you get responses. Instantly you know somebody's really watching shows because the kind of messages and the social media being connected so beautifully. The world's just suddenly become so much more smaller. You just click a finger, you choose a Korean show, you choose a Hindi show, you choose an English film. What do you want? Whatever you want, a Telugu film. Anything that you want is right there at a click of a finger. So the world is smaller and your responses to it are even smaller. I mean, the world is just right there, telling you, giving you their feedbacks. It's not anymore that, what do you say, hard to get, wala wo jo tha, ek, unapproachable, wo cheez hai hi nahi ab. Everything is right there in front of everyone. So that's really nice. For me as an actor, what has changed is I wanted to do something different as an actor, always. But back then, like say about 10 years back, when I did a Veer Zara or a Dilli Che or something, people didn't know where to place me. They said, ye actor अच्छी है, ये lead वाला role तो वो कर रही है, ये बहुत अच्छा role है, but इस role को कहते क्या हैं? Today, उस role को ही lead कहते हैं. And that's a huge difference. वही role सब करना चाहते हैं. Today, everyone wants to do, अच्छा, anybody who comes to me, I'll say, अच्छा, ये वाला role, they say, this is for you. This starts from here, here, here. And I'll ask, अच्छा, वो दूसरे क्या कर रहे हैं? वो भी यही करना चाहती हैं. तो it's changing, and it's so heartening to see things are changing. The directors, the writers are getting what they want to do thanks to the audience who are wanting new stuff coming in their way. They don't want the stereotypical ek hero tha, ek heroine thi, or matlab, all that stuff is like passe in many ways, unless you show it on a grander way, where you really want to go see it on a bigger screen. So we've kind of demarcated things कि ये picture मैं theater में देखूँगा, ये पिक्चर मैं OTT पे देखूंगा, ये तो टीवी पे कभी ये शो मैं टीवी पे देखूंगा. There's such a different audience out there, so I'm very mesmerized sometimes what is happening really, kind of trying to get a hang of it. But yes, I must say there's lots of consumption of lots of content, and that's good times in many ways.
Right. Well, I'm going to take up these 2 points that you raised a little, further down in the conversation, which is about the impact of the pandemic and the demarcation between theater or cinema, as it were, and OTT platforms, and if one is cannibalized the other. But guys, Bollywood guys, tell me what's the difference? Because you obviously did not think when you were starting out, Nikhil, when you began with that Kal Ho Na Ho, that one day you'll be doing television or at least home entertainment, because that's what OTT is. And you are perhaps the busiest content creator right now in the OTT space. And likewise, if you can take the same question, Siddharth, like how different has it been for you in terms of television, film, and OTT? But I'll start with you, Nikhil.
I think I'm possibly the minority on the stage.
Why?
Because there's no difference here. Really, I mean, from a Bollywood perspective, you don't want to make a film because you're afraid of the Friday. Right? I mean, our industry functions, there's an entire industry that we are talking about, 100-year-old industry. It functions on one thing, बच गए, Friday को बच गए. अरे निकल गए, किसी भी तरह से निकल गए. Right? I mean, that's the way we create content. That's the way we are used to writing scripts. किसी भी तरह से, we have to make sure the Friday को निकल जाएंगे. Now, so when we started doing OTT, and I'm a very personal opinion, it was like, why should I sit for an exam, yaar? I can pass without sitting for the exam. Friday, I'll make what I want to make. Like Divya said, it's going to be, edgy. It's going to be different content, etc., etc. But on Sunday evening, Gautam Banerjee will still call you. Right? You will still get the box office result of your show on a Sunday evening. Right? So there's no difference. So you have to, when you are thinking about, this, we can do, so in terms of content, there's a big difference. And I think that's very important to understand. We've always, the well-known, saying is, right, which is, cinema is a director's medium. Theater is an actor's medium, and television is completely a writer's medium. And Gaurav will endorse that. I mean, some of the best writers are on television right now, because every single day they are trying to figure out a connection for the audience, 700 million people, right? But honestly, OTT is a showrunner and platforms medium. It's very collaborative. It has to be collaborative, because somewhere or the other, in terms of OCC or OTT, Gaurav knows more where he's heading the entire slate, right? It's not just one particular
piece of content. Right.
Piece of content. He's trying to figure out what he's going to be doing with the 45, 50, maybe, I don't know how many you are doing right now. Right? So he's...
How many have you pitched to him?
Luckily for us right now, I think Gaurav and I have reached a stage where I get a call from Gaurav and say, I want you to do this.
Fair.
So I have reached a stage where luckily I'm not pitching anymore.
Right.
But I still have to pitch within that. I'm trying to say, you still need to go. So yes, the studio executive has now become the platform, right? So nothing is changed really. Everything is within this thing. But what has changed is, yes, all the writers are busy, actors are busy, so-called non-mainstream actors, which I find is very ridiculous. Everybody is really, really, really busy, right? And doing good work and doing great work, right? Whether you're watching it on your 48-inch screen or you're watching it on your phone, and But yes, I agree with Gaurav. It's like a small island is teaching us India what to do, and we have to figure out what is our Squid Game. We have to figure out because right now OCC content is somewhere where is saturating, right? It's just not what we like to talk about incremental subscribers is not happening. We need a Squid Game. We need
Right.
that one outlier. We need that one disruptor to come in and change everything.
So I want to just say a couple of things because it might be useful for the audience. Nikhil and I have collaborated 3 times in about 10 years. And all the 3 times it has been because I have watched a show or read a book and called him to say, you know, I've watched this show or read a book and you know that I really, really like your work. So would you watch this or read this for me? And if you like it, you know what, maybe we could make it together. And he's been generous enough to agree all 3 times. So the only reason I'm sharing this is that, you know, the common perception is that, you know, OTTs are this very hard to reach place where people are generally not creative at all. And, you know, all these grand, massive ideas come and, you know, people in suits sort of spend their days rejecting them or pouring cold water on them. But this is a live example here. And the reason I'm sharing this is that, you know, Nikhil is by no means the only such person, right? So there are lots of creative people in my team who are reading and watching things. Just like Divya mentioned, all of us are sort of in this market consuming content. So I keep telling people who write to me with a pitch and, you know, we say no, saying, okay, what do I do? How do I get you to say yes? And my favorite answer is, the best answer honestly is, if you don't call me, but I call you. And we keep making these calls all the time because that's our job, right? And we are watching things on YouTube, we are watching things on regional OTTs, we're watching things on regional TV, and you know, being enthralled by incredible talent and trying to make those calls.
Siddharth?
Actually, I'll go back to when you said Bollywood. Yeah, my father and grandfather and extended family is Bollywood.
Right.
But they started with television. They started with Cinevista, and at that point of time, Ved Rahi, Shyam Benegal, greats like V.K. Murthy were part of a show called Katha Sagar, Gul Gulshan Gulfam. These were 13-episode shows back then when we were kids. Bunyad, all these shows were legendary shows, which were great shows we've grown up on. Zindagi by Amrita Pritam, all these, you know, Sharmila Tagore headed it. So I've grown up with television. Then I assisted Nikhil in Kal Ho Na Ho. Doing my television, my career started with Star Plus, and Sanjeevni was my first show. And with Gaurav, we've collaborated. We've done Ek Hazaron Mein Meri Behna Hai, Ek Hasina Thi, many more shows. And then, of course, coming to films and OTT. For me, the big difference is on OTT, the shelf life is longer. Anybody on a film, you've got to, you know, that first week or second week and you're gone. So if people want to sample a Hitchki, which I've directed, today I can get 10,000 new people to sample Hitchki on Amazon. People who've loved it can love it even more. The people who've not seen it can see it even more. So the word of mouth stays for a longer time. You know, tomorrow somebody sees in the audience, sees the film and says, hey, go watch it. It can still carry on. So the pressure, like Nikhil said, of the box office, to do those kind of, to deliver those kind of, get those kind of actors, because you want those kind of actors, those kind of stars, those kind of stories to get the numbers. Versus, I go ahead and do a film which is based on Manto stories, or if I go and do a film which is based on literature, and OTT may give me that freedom to deliver and work with those kind of writers and people who will give their life to deliver that. For me, the biggest example, not an example, I would say Rocket Boys, what he's done, is an outstanding show. Rocket Boys, Mumbai Diaries. I wouldn't have produced a film like Tribhanga, which Renuka Shane directed. I wouldn't get that opportunity to do that on film. But OTT gave me that opportunity. So there is a difference, but the difference, according to me, is this. Yeah.
Right. I like how everyone's saying it's really the same thing. Doesn't matter whether it's a screen is a screen is a screen, television and OTT. Coming to you, Soham, you started your career as a producer. You of course also acted in this phenomenal film Ship of Theseus. And the last we saw you was in Maharani as well. I thought that was Lalu Prasad Yadav, but a great job regardless. If you'd started in 2013 or 12, would you have started with television? Because you are doing OTT now. Television was seen as something that people do because they just remain television actors forever, because the characters become so strong that it's hard for them to have a career thereafter. It was considered almost like you can be relegated there. Is that any different from an OTT platform when you, because that's still home entertainment though?
मैं तो शाहरुख खान बनने आया था, मुझे बड़ी प्रॉब्लम ये है.
Fair enough. अभी भी बन सकते हैं ऐसा.
तो यार मुझे लगता है कि मैं तो OTT को ढूंढ रहा था कि OTT कब आएगा. कि मैंने जो फिल्में बनाई हैं, शिप ऑफ थीसियस या तुम्बाड़, शिप ऑफ थीसियस के टाइम पे तो OTT हुआ नहीं करता था, तुम्बाड़ के टाइम पे जस्ट आया ही था. तो मुझे लगता है कि मैं तो OTT को ढूंढ रहा था और मतलब मेरे हिसाब से OTT ने बहुत कुछ बदल दिया है. लाइक जैसे सिद्धार्थ ने करेक्टली कहा कि एक शेल्फ लाइफ बढ़ जाती है, कि तुम्बाड़ जैसी फिल्म को लोगों ने थिएटर में कम देखा है, OTT पे ज़्यादा देखा है. तो मतलब मेरा जो करियर बना है वो OTT की वजह से बना है. कि जैसे कि मैं एक सैलून में गया था, मैं कहीं टैन बहुत हो गया था, तो मैं गया उस सैलून में, तो उन्होंने पूछा कि आप कोई मार्केटिंग जॉब में हो क्या. मैंने कहा नहीं यार, तो मैं एक्टर हूँ. तो क्या कौन सी फिल्म की आपने? मैंने कहा यार मैंने तुम्बाड़ करके फिल्म की है. कहा सर मैंने देखी है, बहुत अच्छी है. कहा आपने कौन सा पार्ट प्ले किया था? तो ये जो चांस मिला है हमें कमेलियन बनने का, लाइक फॉर मी, कि शिप ऑफ थीसिस में मैं अलग दिखता हूँ, तुम्बाड़ में मैं अलग दिखता हूँ, महारानी में अलग दिखता हूँ. सिनेमा में आपको एक टाइप कास्ट कर दिया जाता है कि आप अच्छा इस रोल के लिए परफेक्ट हो तो इस रोल के लिए परफेक्ट हो. तो अभी जैसे मैं फिल्म कर रहा हूँ जिसमें मैं एक रोल कर रहा हूँ जो साइलेंट कॉमेडी है और मैं क्लाउन प्ले कर रहा हूँ. तो ये OTT की एक फिल्म कर रहा हूँ जिसमें मैं 50 साल का आदमी का रोल प्ले कर रहा हूँ, मेरा ग्रे हेयर है. तो कहानियाँ, बहुत सारी कहानियाँ कहने का हमें मौका मिल रहा है, मुझे लगता है OTT की वजह से अलग अलग कहानियाँ कहने का मौका मिल रहा है. कि जैसे एक्टर्स पहले टाइप कास्ट कर दिए जाते थे, जैसे दिव्या ने कहा कि आप ये कर सकते हो, और आपको एक कैटेगराइज टाइप कास्ट कर दिया जाता था कि सपोर्टिंग एक्टर हो, एक शेल्फ लाइफ भी कम होती थी. पर यू कैन सी कि शेफाली ने दिल धड़कने दो में मॉम प्ले किया है, बट शी इज हेडलाइनिंग अ शो दिल्ली क्राइम. और या आप ये कहो कि आई थिंक एक्टर्स के लिए स्पेशली बहुत बेनिफिशियल हुआ OTT, एंड स्पेशली फीमेल एक्ट्रेसेस. कि जैसे कि एक टाइम था जहाँ आपको कैटेगराइज कर दिया जाता था कि यार यू आर अ ग्लैमरस डॉल. कि ऐसे बहुत सारे किस्से हैं कि आपके 3 गाने हैं और 2 सीन हैं, 2 सीन भी मिलेंगे. अभी यू कैन सी कि सुष्मिता सेन ने आर्या किया है, तो टैलेंट को फ्लरिश करने का एक मौका मिल रहा है बिकॉज ऑफ OTT. मुझे लगता है कि ये बहुत बड़ा चेंज है. और एक मुझे लगता है कि जब मैं आया था तो कोई गणित नहीं था. मैं बिजनेसमैन था, आई यूज्ड टू बी अ बिजनेसमैन. तो कोई गणित नहीं था, एक गट पे आए थे कि यार पता नहीं क्या होगा, बट बहुत इनसिक्योर है, पर करना तो यही है, इस चाह के साथ आए थे. पर बिकॉज ऑफ OTT आई कैन सी अ मैथ विद इन इट, कि ये इंडस्ट्री का रूप ले रही है, कि देर आर अ लॉट ऑफ वर्क, कि नॉट ओनली फॉर एक्टर्स, राइटर्स, प्रोड्यूसर्स, सिनेमाटोग्राफर, हर आदमी को बहुत काम मिल रहा है. कि एक्टर्स की डेट नहीं मिल रही हैं, और कितने एक्टर्स जिनको लोग भूल गए थे फिल्मों में, जिन्होंने कहीं देखा होगा, वो भी मेन लीड कर रहे हैं, उनको काम मिल रहा है, या हर आदमी को काम मिल रहा है. और एट द सेम टाइम कि मैं स्मॉल टाउन से हूँ, जब मैं गंगानगर जाता हूँ तो मुझे बहुत से लोग मिलते हैं जो 50s में हैं, जिन्होंने बीच में मैंने 15-20 साल कभी उनसे सिनेमा की बात नहीं सुनी थी. तो वो कहते हैं सर आपने ये शो देखा क्या? सब लोग टीवी पे, उस पर मोबाइल पर देख रहे हैं. तो OTT की वजह से एक नई ऑडियंस भी क्रिएट हुई है. और एक बात और मुझे लगता है कि ये हुई है कि जैसे कि मैंने कहा कि हम अलग अलग रोल कर पा रहे हैं, अलग अलग स्टोरीज कह पा रहे हैं, और OTT में उसकी एक्सेप्टेंस आ गई है कि हाँ ये चलता है. तो मुझे लगता है कि एक होप है कि एक ऐसी एक्सेप्टेंस भी आएगी कि आप उन्हीं एक्टर्स को हेडलाइन करते हुए शो फिल्म में भी देख पाओगे. एक मुझे लगता है कि OTT ने होप दी है, जो पहले कोई मैथ नहीं था वो दिया है हमें अपने सपनों को जीने के लिए. मुझे लगता है खासकर एक उम्मीद दी है, कि एक होप दी है कि हाँ, और एक शेल्फ लाइफ बढ़ गई है कि आप किसी भी एज में हो आपके लिए काम है. पहले तो आपको कैटेगराइज कर दिया जाता था कि इस एज के बाद आपके लिए काम नहीं है. तो मुझे लगता है वो मैसिव कंट्रीब्यूशन है OTT का, और उससे मुझे लगता है ऑडियंस को बहुत नया कंटेंट मिला. लाइक आई एम अ फैन ऑफ गुल्लक, लाइक शहरी ने जैसे कहा कि जब मैंने गुल्लक देखा तो आप मैंने देखा है सब गेम ऑफ थ्रोन्स देखा है, फ्लीबैग देखा है, पर जब गुल्लक देखता हूँ तो मुझे लगता है मेरी कहानी है. आई कॉल्ड माई ब्रदर, मैंने कहा यार तू वो देखता नहीं है, मैंने कहा प्लीज़ तू देखना गुल्लक, अपनी कहानी है कि घर में सीढ़ी नहीं है, सीढ़ी बनानी है, छत बनानी है, पैसे नहीं है. तो ऐसा नया कंटेंट पहले पॉसिबल नहीं था, कि फिल्म में पॉसिबल नहीं था. टीवी का एक अलग मुझे लगता है ग्रामर है, और तो मुझे लगता है ओटीटी ने बहुत कंट्रीब्यूट किया.
एक बात से तो मैं सहमत हूँ कि एक्टर्स को इतना काम मिला है.
एक ही बात से सहमत हूँ.
इस बात से इसलिए सहमत हूँ बिकॉज आई थिंक हेमा यहाँ बैठी हैं, लीना इज और अराउंड. इट वाज इम्पॉसिबल फॉर द ऑर्गेनाइजर्स ऑफ द समिट टू फाइंड एक्टर्स बिकॉज एवरीवन इज बिजी. दे आर ऑल वर्किंग समवेयर द अदर, एंड ऑफ कोर्स हैज ब्रॉट इन अ लॉट ऑफ न्यू टैलेंट एज वेल. बट आई एम गोइंग टू टेक अप ऑन द पॉइंट ऑफ पैंडेमिक, guys, and clearly there was a point and it should be reiterated. We should not forget that point in our lives, in our history, where literally there was nothing for people to do. They were stuck in their homes. The theaters were shut. I don't think television banks content enough कि वो नए shows दिखा पाते. Everyone literally migrated or adopted OTT platforms. Anyone can take it. And Nikhil, you can jump in as well. Do you think at some level OTT platforms saved Bollywood or saved the film industry? Because वो सब घर में बैठे थे, थिएटर्स बंद थी, तो क्या बनाते वो और कहाँ शूट करते और कौन देखते उस चीज़ को? If there was no OTT, a lot of producers would be, because a lot of those films went direct online and premiered on OTT platforms.
Yeah, so yeah, I mean, did it save Bollywood? I think Bollywood still needs saving. Right, so we are getting there. I mean, 3 weeks ago, it was very dismal what was happening, and you know, and then boom,
Gaurav saved Bollywood.
Gaurav's Brahmastra comes and changes everything for everybody, which is fantastic, right? I mean, I think that we were all doing a collective prayer कि किसी भी तरह से Brahmastra चल जाए.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, they are huge. And I mean, this is an industry where we love to pull down the other people, right? And here, really, every single person was just hoping and praying that this film, something happens,
Right.
This takes off, right?
Yeah.
I mean, for all different purposes. But you're right. Pandemic actually several things. Yeah, Mayank. I mean, very interesting point of view I read was that during the pandemic, it was important for most people to educate their children. They had to therefore buy bandwidth. When they bought bandwidth, they got free. They got the ability to actually, you know, choose OTT platforms which they did not know existed.
Right.
Which they did not know existed. See, the thing is that everybody sitting on this panel right now, most people sitting in this room right now, we just have auto pay, right? We have all the channels possibly, right? We have all the platforms possibly. But the consumer today really waits for the scam, and he waits for UEFA and the same, or you know, IPL, and waits and will not watch Arya, but they'll buy for that month, right? That's why you have those schemes that are coming on various platforms, which is 199 rupees. So you can watch IPL, you can watch this, and then they will choose the show and they'll put it on the wish list. So it's not like us, who are watching everything every Friday or Monday or Sunday or whatever. So honestly speaking, yes, the OTT platforms, especially for content creators like us, we were doing the post of Empire, we were doing the post of Mumbai Diaries, we were prepping for Rocket Boys, we were just waiting to come out. The minute the lockdown opened, we were out, because there was the demand. People were watching, people were asking platforms, when's the next season of Gullak coming? By the way, I love Gullak. By the way, I love Panchayat. I mean, Panchayat season 2 is incredible, right? My favorite episode is the one with the chair, which is season 1. So yeah, yes, I think that, and full marks to even I think collectively, Gaurav and his peers in the other platforms got together and said, we need to buy these, we need to help these guys out.
Right.
Right. So of course, we were all sitting with.
Also, there's a captive audience. They're sitting at home and they need to watch.
Besides
something.
that, I mean, in the sense that, I mean, we as producers, we were sitting with content and we were waiting. Ab khulega, ab khulega, ab khulega, and these guys.
And you're paying interest, right? I mean, you raise money to make those films.
Everything is increasing, and people actually turned around and said, I mean, Gaurav and all turned around and said, listen, guys, we'll help you out. Let's go direct to digital. We'll give you this thing, you know, move forward. So it was actually a coming of together of Bollywood and television and OTT at that
Right.
time.
But here's the flip side, right? Until pandemic, it was a known fact, and it's something that exhibitors would talk about to, say, Ajay Bijli from a PVR, or Inox now merged with them. They were doing exceedingly well. The multiplexes were doing exceedingly well. Films of a certain type were doing exceedingly well. They never saw OTT platforms as a competition because they felt that the consumers there are actually there for the web series. They watch long form entertainment, but pandemic gave people that access to film premiering one after the other to a point, guys, and please tell me if you think that that's really what happened, where now there's a clear distinction between ये theater वाली film है और ये OTT वाली film है. Is that where we've reached, Divya, Siddharth? If you were to make a FICCI now, would you consider it an OTT wali film and not go straight to the theatre? Is that the change that has taken place, Divya?
Mayank, I feel, and I really talk to a lot of people every day, and from all walks of life.
Yeah.
So what happens, there's an excitement to watch a film, period. उनको film देखनी है. लेकिन अब ये pandemic की वजह से what happened, that you know it's going to come on OTT.
Eventually.
Eventually.
Right.
वो एक महीने बाद देखेंगे. Also, there's also the thing
ये
that...
आमिर को बोल देना चाहिए था ना 6 महीने बाद आएगी. सब लोग गए ही नहीं देखने के लिए, thinking it will probably come on OTT platform, right? Yes.
So there are three factors I feel. One is now there's a conditioning that एक जो हमें बड़े पर्दे का चाम है कि वहाँ जाके popcorns के साथ खाएंगे, but वो popcorns का price एक normal family के लिए बहुत बढ़ गया है. Recently when Chup released, I think there was a 75 rupees का thing, and it was a houseful thing. So there are lots of things that come by. People still want to go to the theaters, but this has to come to a point where everyone can afford it, rather than say चल यार अगले महीने देख लेंगे, कोई बात नहीं. There's a choice that they have.
Correct.
And also I think there's what you say is a grand film, like you'll say like an RRR coming in or a Brahmastra coming in. I have seen all these films in the theater, and people want to watch these films, and we were fingers crossed कि इस बार फिल्में, you're right निखिल, हर कोई कह रहा था ये फिल्म चलनी चाहिए. People should go into the theaters, जाने चाहिए अंदर, and there has to be a coexistence, a good marriage rather than competitive thingy के अरे भाई वहाँ नहीं देखेंगे तो यहाँ देखेंगे, तो एक का profit दूसरे का loss जो वो लगता है system कि there's a clear demarcation, वो है. I'm saying there should be a little kind of a thing where there's a proper gap between a film that comes in and then it goes to an OTT platform, so that people have a choice anyway. वो तो देखेंगे ही, but उतना वक्त मिलना चाहिए कि जिसको तभी देखनी है, or that excitement, it coexists is what I feel, because I love to watch both.
Right.
Ji.
I think in the pandemic we all woke up to South cinema a lot. A lot. When I'm saying Malayalam cinema.
Tell me, would you release FICCI in the theatre, or would you go directly OTT if you were to do it right now?
I would still release in the theatre because it's a high concept film. It's a high concept film. But it depends on the kind of pressure you want to take as a producer. I'm a director over there, but if I have to produce a film, today if I'm making certain kind of films where I know that these films are, there's a certain expectation when you're doing a theatrical film. You have to deliver a number. You're judged. Similarly, you have to deliver subscriptions on OTT. Let's not forget that. They're not buying your film if you're not adding value or getting subscribers. So there is a business there too. But if you want to make a certain kind of film, which you feel that this may not deliver 8 crore, 10 crore day one, or 3 crore, 4 crore even day one, but this will give you a lot of respect. This will give you the subscription. So there's a diverse, I feel that there is that demarcation for sure. You make a good film, first of all.
No, of course, that's a given. You would want to make a good film. Yeah.
But I would believe there is a demarcation that today, if I have to choose where my film would go, depending on the subject, then I would feel that this would be more suitable on OTT and this would be more suitable on theatre.
Right. Mrs. Sai, yes.
Yeah, so just because we are already short of time, एक तो मैं श्रेयांश को बधाई देना चाहता हूँ, पंचायत एक्सीलेंट, इतना बढ़िया वो सीरीज था, आई वॉच इट माई फैमिली. और दूसरा, सोहम, यू आर द रियल स्टार. हमने महारानी जो देखा, पहला सीरीज पूरा देखा, और आपका अपने इतना बढ़िया किरदार आपने निभाया उसका, साहब बोलते हैं, क्योंकि हम बिहार के हैं, तो हम सीरियल बहुत अच्छे से समझते हैं. Maharani 2 was getting launched on 25th of August, if I'm not mistaken. And we had decided, me, my wife, and my daughter. Our daughter is, she's a big girl now. So we had decided we'll watch Maharani 2 together and finish it on the weekend. 25th August, I was not in Delhi. So my family waited for me to come back. And in one day, we watched all the 10 episodes. So
Thank you, sir.
excellent. Excellently done.
Sir.
The point which I wanted to make, and I'm surprised why nobody made it, and that is the best part. Difference between a theatrical release and an OTT release is, a theatrical release requires a pre-certification by CBFC, and OTT does not require it. It is self-certification, self-discipline, and that creative liberty you have for a web series. And I can tell you it was not easy. When we were trying to bring the regulations for OTT platform, because a lot of people were talking about it, there was a certain quote, certain people were saying, even films on OTT should be pre-certified. But we in the ministry, we felt no, there are two different platforms. One is for a theatrical exhibition where you see along with 500 people. There, the nuances are very different, the thinking is very different. Here you are voting in your privacy, in your room, on your laptop, on your mobile. This is a one-on-one relation between the producer, director, and the consumer. It has to be self-certification and not pre-certification. So that has...
Thank you, sir.
So that gave... Today, I think there are a lot of people who I keep on discussing about those things, and they said that this is the best thing which could have happened. And now, shortly, we'll also see the similar type of a 5-level certification. It may also come on for films, on for theatrical release.
So, Mr. Sai, if you can make this very clear, because about a year and a half ago, when the government announced a 3-tier system where a person who's a consumer, anyone can have a problem with anything that appears in any place online, and then the OTT platform has to listen to that complaint, which is terribly loaded against the content creator. It's more in favor of the content consumer, right? And then there's a grievance officer who is liable, who the government can go after if that person has not taken all those measures. Then, sir, if this is what we know, I'd love to hear your response and exactly where we are on that.
I will give you a response from Maharani itself. The first grievance which came to our knowledge was a person from Rajasthan who wrote a letter complaining against Maharani series that it is trying to make aspersions about certain castes and communities. And I'm being a movie lover, I had watched the entire series. And in the first series, the 10 episodes, and in the 10th episode, the lady, she sends her husband to jail, who she felt was a corrupt politician, had done something which was criminal and sent him to jail. So that grievance had come. I sent it to Sony Live. And I said, इसका एक अच्छा जवाब बना दीजिएगा और जवाब बनाकर उनको आप भेज दीजिएगा. वो हिंदी में उनकी चिट्ठी आई थी जिन्होंने ग्रीवांस रेज किया था, 1 person from राजस्थान, और उन्होंने इतना बढ़िया जवाब बनाया. It was a 1.5 page letter. It was replied in Hindi. And after that, there was no further. Now, point which I'm trying to make is, and I mentioned about that at several forums, this is the type of reply. Most people in this country, they are happy when the grievance are heard and they get a response. It is not that the grievance is a genuine grievance, but most people feel कि हमने मेरी सुनवाई हो गई. तो grievance जो है ना, citizen का grievance जो होता है, उसको अगर आप जवाब दे दीजिएगा, तो वो खुश है कि हमको जवाब मिल गया. वो हम दें, चाहे producer दे, चाहे Sony Live दे, चाहे Hotstar दे. In the now it's about 1.5 years since we had these rules. We have not heard from a single OTT platform saying we are burdened because of the grievance redressal mechanism. Nobody is burdened.
Sir, कैसे बोलेंगे आपको sir?
नहीं, मैं आपको बताता हूँ. नहीं, मैं आपको बताता हूँ. क्योंकि उनके पास कितना ग्रीवांस आता है और कितना रिड्रेस होता है, उसका हम लोग को ब्यौरा उन लोग देते हैं. ऐसा नहीं कि बहुत ग्रीवांसेस आता है. ऐसा नहीं है. और they do not have to make a separate mechanism for grievance. Anybody can reply. So it is not a burden at all. You talk to, I don't know, Hotstar है. ऐसा कोई ग्रीवांस नहीं आता है.
No, fair enough.
आता है तो वो निवारण उसका होता है.
I think the point
और कोई भी हम लोगों ने आज तक सब बैठे हैं producers लोग. OTT, we have never, they have never felt that we have been inconvenienced because of that. And I can assure you to the entire audience here, ministries will definitely, it's a guarantee from the ministry. Nobody would ever feel that we are getting inconvenienced, and nobody has been brought to inconvenience. And that will happen in future also.
Sir, right now we have an extremely progressive, cinema-loving INB Joint Secretary, which is fantastic. कल कोई और आए तो
नहीं, वो बात नहीं, ये institutional setup है, एक institutional mechanism है. और आप इनको शायद नहीं पता होगा. There were a few of the OTT series which were getting, Family Man season 2 when it was getting launched. You ask Mr. Manoj Vajpayee and others, 2 days before it was getting launched, and I can share it with you. There was a request, in fact, a firm request to the ministry, please do not allow it to come up because they're trying to hurt Tamil sentiments or something, and that's how it come to us.
from a consumer.
No, from a elected representative.
Achha.
And a lot of people writing the same, from Tamil Nadu. It was, I remember it was a Saturday. And on Sunday, I did a video call from the ministry. I did a video call on Sunday, VC with the producer, with the Amazon team, and Mr. Manoj Vajpayee was also there. I said, please let me understand. Why are people talking about it? There was something in the promo, that because it had not yet got released, there was something in the promo which apparently it felt like it was there was a problem and that would hurt Tamil sentiments, something of that sort. So we did a 1.5 hour session with the producer director, with Amazon and with Manoj Bajpayee, just trying to understand as to what it is. And I told Manojji that you are a person with high credibility. So obviously you would not like to do something which in a way tarnishes your image as an actor. And they assured us that nothing of this is there. They gave a written reply. We replied back to them, and it got released, and it was a bounce. It was a bumper hit. So we took that stand. So why I'm saying it is not because of me, because the rules are made in the spirit that it is only an enabler, not to distort, not to in any way trying to suppress the creative freedom. Okay.
So I think rules are so much about interpretation, but may your tribe increase, Mr. Sai. I think, one more round of applause for him because we need more progressive people in the government than anything else. I've been asked that we need to wrap up. I'm going to wrap up with two things. One is, of course, because we're talking about the magic of OTT and we have sort of linked it to cinema as well. One of the things that people say when it comes to Bollywood, the Bombay film industry, as it were, the Hindi cinema industry, and it's, the decline, as it were, is that most of the top producers in the city, and you can take that, Gaurav, most of the top producers have turned into, vendors for OTT platforms, whereas that cinema industry, which is what they should be servicing, has taken a back seat, and there's a sudden invasion as we see it. Do you see it the same way?
So I don't think anybody is a vendor, but I think all of us are in the service of our fans. So I think we exist and we do good work when fans applaud, when we can touch people's hearts. So I think there is, I have no love for ivory tower existence. And I think if you're sitting alone and creating and thinking only for yourself, you're an awesome artist, and that's fine. But, and of course that there is space for that. But I think if you're in the business of, employing massive number of people, their livelihoods are dependent on you, their futures are dependent on you, you have to serve a market. And I think that's what all good producers and businesses are trying to do. There is nothing wrong with that.
No, nothing wrong at all. I think one of the things that OTT platforms have definitely done is completely widen the range in terms of choice. People are watching Korean content, people are watching Malayalam films, they're watching Tamil cinema. Some of that audience actually going to theaters to watch films which are not in their main language, the regional becoming also in its own way, the universal or the mainstream. If I were to ask you to end this discussion, because content is king, but curator is king as well. And so much of it is actually done by algorithms. But we need to discover new things, and OTTs have allowed that. If there is one thing that you've watched over a period of time that you know is amazing, but most people haven't watched it? What is that one piece of content that you will recommend before we end this discussion? Friends, I'm going to start with you. जो आपने कोई चीज देखी हो जो आपको लगता है कि शायद लोगों ने नहीं देखा है, but you've discovered it, you want people to watch it. Don't say good luck, we plugged good luck enough today.
I'm not saying that, but I'm saying that, you know, mostly ऐसा मैं जो देखता हूँ वो बहुत सारे लोग already पहले देख चुके होते हैं. तो मेरे
So
लिए
make it your favorite piece of content then, which is not your own.
So I recently watched Everything Everywhere All at Once. So yeah, that's good. I think, you know, it's a good watch. You should definitely watch it.
That's a theatrical release right now.
That's
अभी
a
OTT पे
theatrical
आई नहीं
release.
है.
On the OTT, I would say Succession.
Okay.
That is something I like. I'll just want to add one more line, Mayank, to the previous question that you said. You know, the context is a little different, and I understand that, you know, the entire service and vendor thing. However, I feel that, you know, especially in media and also, you know, taking a lens at the social structure of our nation, there is a big problem. There is a problem of, you know, building service-based companies. There is this thing wherein we have built Infosys, TCS, and Cognizant, but we have built less of product-based companies. And I think that is something which we should definitely keep in mind when we are in this new media world, because there is a scope to do a lot of intervention, a lot of inventions, a lot of experiments. The reach that has been enabled today because of internet, what internet has done is that, you know, it has given an individuality to a person, and it also enabled that person to become a part of multiple communities. And there is a story for all communities that can be done, you know. So while The Office and Friends will always be classics, there are more than 50 attempts to make plus one of that. However, what changes the curve is, you know, something which gets invented at a very fundamental level and, you know, resonates with a new set of community which is probably lapping up to the service.
I get your point completely. Or one piece of content that you've loved, ideally something that people may not have watched.
Yeah, so and there's a third qualifier, it can't be Hotstar.
No, it can be Hotstar. It's totally fine. There's so much in Hotstar that it's impossible to even find a lot of times.
Can I take two names? Then one from Hotstar, we just did this small series, first time director, The Hen. So check it out, might be interesting. And I think from something that has nothing to do with Hotstar, but as you know, Mayank, I have a background in news, so The Loudest Voice.
Right, correct. Sir, Sai Saab, जो आपने देखी हो और आप recommend करना चाहें?
I think we talked about Jamtara, amazing.
Jamtara.
Amazing.
You mean the second season or the first?
Yeah, I saw the first, I've not yet started the second, but now I'll start it. But of course I have praised Panchayat, praised Maharani. Maharani of course is a very different type of series, but it's done so beautifully. Everybody's, their acting, the script, amazing, amazing. And the best part, there is a moral behind it. The good over the evil. That is something which comes out so well. In spite of telling a story which is almost what is happening in reality, still the moral fiber, the moral fabric remains there. That is the best part of Maharani. Yeah.
Divya?
Yeah, in my case, whatever I see and ask people, have you seen it? They say, "Ah, to bahut pehle dekh liya."
ये तो सब binge watching ही कर रहे हैं
Sab
दिन
dekh
भर.
liya. Yeah, I think I have a lot to catch up on, but there's such amazing content happening anyway. So yeah, there was something, which was that with 4 short stories that was directed by Shanali and by Vishal. I
Yeah.
just loved it. I just
The
loved
Modern
it.
Love, the one that is set in
Yeah,
Mumbai.
and I think a lot of people should just watch that one.
For me, it's besides Rocket Boys, which I love, The Offer, which is on
Right.
Woot,
Yes.
and The Bear, which is on Hotstar. The Bear,
The Bear.
it's on Hotstar.
Okay. I hope people are taking notes.
Yeah, I loved Tabbar, yeah. It was very difficult to watch the first episode. It was very tough to watch. But incredible writing, incredible direction, incredible confidence in the show. And yeah, I thought Tabbar is superb.
I guess Gullak, Panchayat, The Offer.
These are the same shows, right? But I really hope the best ones, the ones that come ahead of us in the near future, is by everyone on this particular stage. Thank you so much for this lovely conversation.
An engaging deliberation indeed, and I'm sure all will agree with me. A nice group picture for memory's sake, please. Please come together. Yeah, thanks. Ladies and gentlemen, please remain seated. We will begin the next session immediately. We are breaking only after that.